Fantastic. So 1Place Childcare is compliance made easy. We manage everything within your centre, from health and safety, audits and compliance assessments, property maintenance workflow, and of course, managing all of that over multiple locations. So therefore, you've always got the visibility and the reporting to back up any decisions that you need to make going forward as you grow your centres or you look to sell your centres as well. So what are some of these key items that make a successful childcare centre when we're talking about compliance and best practice? So we look to operationalise all of those digitally, so that therefore your staff and your educators in each classroom or at each centre have a toolkit on any of the devices they have access to, and they're able to meet the compliance obligations by way of managing your incidents, having proactive management of any of your licensing criteria, any opening procedures, as well as mitigating any of that risk. So you've got some proactive lead indicators to understand and make sure that everyone has the delegated responsibility and agency within your childcare centre to complete what they need to complete and what they need to do each day within their rooms, and then therefore you have the visibility of that to then move forward and have any of those robust discussions on professional development that you need to as well. So we take all of those manual paper systems that you've got currently that you need to search through, and we digitize them and really make them a toolkit for your educators and your staff. Now, what are the consequences of not meeting those standards? You could potentially be put on a provisional license. You could have some brand risk that comes into play, especially with sort of the industry being small and with being able to have those discussions. And then, of course, the safety of the children is compromised. Whereas with 1Place, we assist you to manage all of those standards and ensure that even being a busy centre and a busy owner, you've got all of the different levels of your organisation at play with using the application, and you're able to have discussions at all those different levels as well. So currently the risk that paper systems bring is that there's no real-time visibility, and so therefore there's no accountability. If you can't measure something, you can't act on something, and you're not able to spot trends being way of behaviours from certain members, or maintenance or hazards issues being tracked, and so therefore those processes can be compromised, and therefore the safety of the children and the business risk intensifies as well. Paper's inefficient, so it can be lost. If there's a fire or something happens, all of that paper documentation that you've had over time is lost, or you can't access it. And if you're wanting to report and find any of those trends, you're able to have to put in that additional administration time, or store it, which is costly as well. And they don't scale. So if you're wanting to grow and you're wanting to manage multiple locations and multiple centres, you're not able to have visibility over all of those areas, and you're also not able to control the versions of any of the procedures that they're currently working on. So therefore they may have an outdated version, something could have been updated, but they don't have that, and they're keeping those printed copies that they did in bulk and moving forward with those as well. Whereas with 1Place, we're able to scale quite quickly. Once we understand the standardized procedures at one centre, it really is just a case of adding the user logins and the additional centre in, and then really cookie cuttering your customized approach into all the other centres that you're adding into your organisation as well. Fantastic. So we solve it by eliminating all those paper-based checklists and forms. We're giving you that real-time visibility, which gives you that peace of mind within your organisation, and we're reducing any of those risks while improving productivity, and we're complementary to other systems that you're using as well. Fantastic. So some of the modules that we've got in 1Place is a checklist manager. So that's all your procedures, anything that needs to be done daily, monthly, weekly. Any sort of observation assessments can also be completed within the checklist manager. Then we've got the ticket manager. So if anything is found during those proactive procedures, such as a facilities issue or a first aid restocking issue, they can easily be raised and sent through to the specific person who is responsible to then correct that and see it through to completion. We also have an incident and health and safety manager, so therefore we're able to log adult and children incidents, as well as illness, as well as accidents as well. So therefore we've got the ability to do those injuries, which are something has happened, I've hurt myself, but also an incident, which is a business risk or a property damage or misconduct by a staff member or a parent as well. We then have the reporting manager, and this is really where you get that visibility to be able to see the completion, to see the scoring, which is the standard at which that particular procedure has been completed, as well as your health and safety metrics. How many incidents am I getting, and what is the makeup of those incidents, and what is the location, and what percentage of injuries are happening in the car park versus in the room, etc., etc. And I will take you into the live system and show you through that as well. The first thing I'm going to show you in the live system is the application. Now that is where your staff and your educators will log into the system, and that is where they will answer the specific questions, where they will add images, and that will then in turn give them a score and create a PDF record where of course they can continually get used to the system, and we can continue to add checklists as they grow the use from there. But the app is really their toolkit where they complete everything, whereas the web portal is really where you would look at reporting, where you could see any of those images and where you could track those dashboards. And I'll show you that secondary to showing you that application as well. Perfect. And this is what some of the reports look like, but I'm going to show you these in the live system and take you through them so that you can see the real-time visibility there and understand what you can actually quantify in the system as well. Fantastic. Now I am going to move on into there now. Should be able to see on my screen Little Stars Childcare with 8 checklists to do. So currently I am on app.oneplaceonline.com and I'm currently on my laptop. So therefore I'm accessing through what we call the PWA app or a progressive web app. So even if I am a centre director, I can actually be on my laptop at my desk and still log into the app view, even though I'm not on a mobile device, a tablet device, or even a Kindle Fire, depending on what you've got from a device perspective circling within your centres. When I first log into the app, I'll see my checklist to do. Now this particular dashboard is profile specific. So if I'm in room A and I have access to only the opening procedure, then that is all I'll see each day on my checklist to do. Where if I'm, say, an area manager, because I've got more centres or an allocation of centres, then I'll see that. Whereas if I'm room B and I'm completing an active supervision checklist or an observation on active supervision, then I'll only see that. Because I'm in the super user system, I see everything that's scheduled. But of course, the system is quite simple for the end user because they will only see what is required of them in their particular room or their particular centre as well. And the first template I want to show you is the opening procedure. So when I log in, all I need to do is have a look at what I've got to complete, click start, and then of course enter in and start completing the checklist that I've got in front of me. When we get a new client on board, there is quite a creative design procedure that we go through. So we think about groupings because they essentially go through to reporting. We also talk and think about choreography. And I like to use that word because just like anything in a childcare centre with those different layers, it's really important that we have delegated responsibility and that people know what they need to complete and they know how to complete it. So in this particular case, they would start in the classroom, they would then move on to the kitchen and then on to the playground. And as they complete the questions, they're going to be getting colours. So they're going to know if what they've answered is correct, or if it's no and it's red, they need to potentially seek more information or ask for help. And where we really see this being useful is onboarding of new staff members. So as staff members change, rather than having to just rely on that they were onboarding and that they know what's important, they know where to find the paper, they can essentially pick up the iPad, click start on any of those procedures that need to be done, and then be supported throughout the process as well. So in this particular case, we've got a help image. So what does a room that's free and clean of clutter look like, as well as a little help link. So it could be a link to a video, it could be a link to a policy or a procedure document, or it could even be a particular verbatim process, which is this is how you mix the sanitizing solution, this is where you find what you need to, and going into specifics. And it's hidden over in the corner just because of the fact that a lot of your existing employees won't necessarily need the information, but where people do need assistance, it just keeps it really nice, clean and clear for them to touch on if required as well. If I'm wanting to add additional comments as to why I couldn't answer something, I've got that as well. And if it's more of an audit or an assessment, I've got the ability to add any Excel spreadsheets, PDF reports, Word documents in as an additional attachment in here as well. I can also take photos, and because I'm sharing my Zoom, it won't let me. But if I take a photo, it'll launch my camera. I'll then click take, and then of course I'll be able to add as many photos in here. And I might just quickly see if I can turn off my video and if it'll let me just quickly take a photo. There I am. Take that, add comments. I always seem to make the worst face when I save it. Then I'm able to add as many photos in there as I need, and it's date and time stamped. So therefore I know what the room looked like at that particular time. I know what the playground activity looked like, and I can see that in my email reports that come out each day or each week to ensure that I can see that evidence as well. Now, if I do click no on a particular question, I can also automate a ticket pop, and I'll just show you that one again. And what that means is as we're doing those procedures to check for any safety requirements, do those opening procedures, in this particular example, I'm able to raise any corrective actions. Now you'll see that it automatically assigns in this particular case to health and safety. I can add an image as an example, and I can mark it high priority and then add some additional commentary and additional notes. And that just means that I'm not having to write something on my hand. I'm not having to wait to non-contact time. I'm not able to having to do those little sticky notes, and they're able to be raised quickly and easily and straight away, so that therefore everything that is noticed is then moved through into a corrective action as well. And as I work through the particular process, I can go through each grouping and answer them until I get to the end and add a signature. Now, this particular one is, of course, in locations, but everything you see on this page here is customizable. So if I don't want a photo here and I don't want a comment, I can remove those. I can rename the groupings and rename any of the labels. So a lot of this particular template is sort of a yes or no. It's completed or it's not completed, but it could be a range. It could be, excellent to poor, and they could have sort of a rag type of color. So red, green, and amber, or even going into the pinks or the blue from a range perspective. And when I answer a question, I get a score in the background of it. So therefore, maybe yes would be 5 points, maybe no would be 0 points. And where something is critical, I can actually also negatively impact that score. So when I show you the reporting later in the webinar, you'll be able to see how that displays and how you can see that from a visibility perspective as well. So of course I can add comments and I can sign off on there on my tablet with my finger or with my mouse as well if need be. And you can see I've got a new ticket, which is that one I just did now. I can then of course submit that. And then what it will do is it will return me to my room dashboard, and I'll be able to then view what else I need to complete for the day as well. Now you'll notice the one that I did now says edit, and that's just because I haven't finalized all the required questions to complete that particular procedure. If I had completed all the questions, that will then be removed down to checklist completed today, and I'll only have 7 checklists to do as well. Now, a lot of centres I work with have weekly cleaning checklists. So we do have the ability to do things like the weekly checklist appears on a Monday, but you have a grace period for 4 days and then it expires on a Friday. So even if you know that they need to do this deep cleaning during the week, but you don't necessarily want to be so specific as to what day they need to complete it on, you've got the ability to have it open to them all week until they come through and complete that as well. The other checklist I just wanted to give you a view on is one of the newest ones we've got, and it's called Active Supervision. And it just gives you a bit of a different idea on some of the things you can use 1Place for. And it's really that professional development, it's that staff observation, but giving feedback at a room-based level on how you see their staff conduct, etc. So you can say staff present, I'm going to put myself. And this is just really to show you how we use different fields as well. So we've got a time and date stamp, and then we can work through environment setup, where they group together, where we ensuring staff are accessible, are we positioned correctly, did it occur or did it not occur, and then of course the ability to check transitional counts and things like that. So just really giving them feedback, and this is a bit of a color map as well. So we can really understand and give feedback to our staff based on some of those commentaries and those signatures on our leaders as well from a professional development perspective. Now I can complete checklists, tickets, and accidents unplanned or ad hoc as well. So not everything needs to be scheduled. So I can create a ticket if I'm walking through a room and I notice something, but I'm not necessarily completing a procedure. And then once I've created it, it will then automatically assigned to the person in the workflow. And it can be as simplistic or as customized as you would like it to be. We do have delegation steps and approval steps for things like costs if it's resource. So you've definitely got that ability as well to make it a little bit more complex. So if I edit this particular one, I can see it's currently sitting with me waiting to open. If there were multiple people here, I would see them as well. I can then see any of the images, and of course, an email has gone out with all of the details through to me to tell me a ticket has been assigned, and it includes all of the images as well. So if an image has been taken, they'll receive it in their inbox, and then they can take quick action without having to log into the system because they've got all of those images, attachments, and details that we need as well. I'm then able, maybe as the centre coordinator or the owner, to make a quick decision. I can then choose to delegate that particular ticket. I'm just going to put it through to my test login here, and then of course add a comment. Please continue on with this. Or I can say a plumber, I have called a plumber and a plumber is coming to site on Thursday at 5 p.m. So I'm able to add that comment. Once I've submitted that embeds that, and it then moves it on to the next person who you've delegated to as well. It also saves the comment. So if I'm in room A and I think, where did that light switch still isn't fixed, where has that gotten to? I've got the ability to come through and look at the status of it, look at any of the commentary and really converse on it as well, rather than always picking up the phone or always sending emails. We've got it all at our fingertips at the same time. We can then resolve, reassign, or cancel out that ticket as well. If it's not in the budget or it's not required right now, we've got the ability to close those nice and easily at the same time. Now, the last thing I want to show you on the app is the ability to raise accidents. So they're in room A. Little Johnny has a fall. We've got the ability to add that in straight away. And we can have different types. So it could be an illness, it could be an adult injury, it could be an incident. And based on the selection I make, it can change the fields that are required. And that just means I can report on child versus adult separately, or illness versus injury separately. And I can also gather the information only that's needed rather than keeping it all in one form. Quite often we find that we do get trauma, incident, illness reports in paper that are all together, and we seek approval to really dissect them and to change them into specific forms, so that therefore we're gathering the information that we need to easily. So I'm going to say I've had an accident, and these ones are mandatory. I can then put the severity. So I can say, well, I think it's first aid minor harm, or I think it's moderate because they're going to the doctors or they're going to the GP. But we add little brackets to enable them to make the right decision the first time, so that they understand. Sometimes it could be a motive. There could be something there where someone has been quite hurt, but really it's an ice pack. It's not a fracture. It's not moving on forward from there. And so they're all dynamic. We can change those as the situation changes as well. Everything here is also customizable. So things like type of injuries, we can customize to the type that you would like, as well as things like locations. And the more selections that we have in this particular layout, the better. It makes it quicker, easy, more efficient for them to report, and it actually increases the amount of reporting that starts to happen, because they're not having to leave the room and get a piece of paper or a triplicate form. They're able to add it in here nice and quickly as they go as well. Now, something that I do really like is the ability to circle the primary and secondary injury type, and actually have an image of where the child was hurt within a digital environment as well. Now, all of these ones I'm showing you in terms of location, in terms of body part, injured, treatment given, they're all reportable. So you're able to see the percentage of time something's happened in the car park versus the hallway, etc., etc. We can also gather parent contact information. So what time was the parent contacted, the parent name, and then of course, once they arrive at the centre to pick up the child, we can actually ask them to sign on the tablet or the device or at reception, so that therefore we're gathering that all together. Once we go to submit, then we can choose to send that accident via email, and it launches the ability to add the email address, and then of course add a personalized message into here, and then send that automatically as well. Now, they will only see the accident reporting details form, and the PDF that they receive will only be that initial report of it. We do have the investigation section where there's a categorization. So if you do have multiple centres, there'll be a notification through to say the centre director that something has happened in a particular room, and then they will be able to come in here and recategorize it. So if they say, well, this is notifiable, it's now changed, they've gone to the doctor, they've found out they've got a fracture, you can come in here, set the category or change the category if it's already been set to a minor, and therefore a second phase of notification goes out to anyone else within the organisation that needs to be immediately made aware of something happening. All of these fields are customizable, so therefore you've got the ability to come through to sign it off and have the investigation be exactly what you would like it to be, as well as converse, just like you could do on the ticket one as well. Now, something that's important to say is that I'm not sure if you've noticed, every time I make a change, it auto saves my change. And if I go offline, just like I have here, there'll be a strike through the cloud up in the top right-hand corner. We are quite close with our clients, and we like to really have sort of robust sharing discussions, and anything that they find in the system that they would like improved, we go in and we enter those discussions with them. So one of our childcare clients in Australia had an issue where they had quite a large centre and they didn't have full Wi-Fi connectivity to all of their devices across the whole centre. They had some spots where it wasn't as strong. So therefore, everything they do in the app either on the website or either on a device will be auto-saved into a draft functionality. And once I go back online, I then have the ability to then submit that, and it will also remind me that I've got drafts to push up as well. And this particular one is just because I'm logged into the demo system. It's decided it's been sitting idle for too long. But if I did go through and re-log in and refresh and those types of things, all of my data will still be there for me, nice and easy, and I'm not going to lose anything. So there's all my details. I've gone back, and I'll just quickly show you the draft functionality. There we go. So there we are, drafts. You'll see we've got the active supervision checklist, which I hadn't submitted earlier, and we've also got the draft updated accident that's sitting there. I can now re-enter it and submit it because I'm now back online. So nothing ever gets lost in the process either. Any questions on the application, feel free to drop them in the chat. If there's anything particular you're thinking, does it do this or does it do that? Don't hesitate to drop something in the chat either. And I'll just give you a 30 seconds or a minute or so just to think if there's anything. Perfect. So we did get a question in the chat, which is perfect. So thank you so much. So yes, they are downloadable. So we've got a reporting engine that first off sends you automated email reports. They include all the images taken for the day. They include comparisons and some of the things I'm about to show you next. But we do have the records that are downloadable as well. So this one's like the observation active supervision view, and you've got a score here, and then you've got all of the answers here, whether things were compliant or non-compliant, and you'll have the signature and things like that in this particular one as well. So they're all downloadable as records, and you can pull them out over all time. So it's not something where we go, oh, 12 months of data, we archive that and we're gone. All of your data is all your data for all time. And you can pull that down. Hopefully I answered that question correctly, but don't hesitate, Sharon, if you wanted me to just go a little bit further with that as well. Perfect. Thank you, Sharon. So now I'm going to take you through to what some of the key reporting metrics are. The first one we've got here, and I'm logged into the web portal. So therefore, this is my administration portal. And you'll notice it looks quite different to the app because the app is quite simplistic, quite easy to use, really great user interface. This is more the administration portal. So if I wanted to change any of the checklist versions, if I wanted to change the ticket categories, add new users, this is where you would do that. So we only usually give access to the owner, the super user, or the key implementer, as well as maybe the center director to see these reports, etc. from there as well. So the first metric here is completion. So if there's an opening procedure that needs to be done daily, I'm going to have a tick to say it's been fully completed on that particular day. I'll have an orange partial bar to say it's been partially completed. So it was started, but they maybe didn't sign off the form, or they missed a few or one question. And then there's a red X where it wasn't started for that particular day. Now, the reason completion is important is because, of course, it means you're not having to go through all that paper or have those discussions. You'll immediately know the day of if something hasn't been completed, and you'll be able to automatically fix that, rectify it with that particular room or that particular centre. And, we're thoughtful that owners are really busy, and same with directors. So they won't necessarily log into this portal and view the reports for the day. They will receive a scheduled report at 6:30 or 7 a.m. in the morning, or 8, depending on the time that they allot to their staff to complete the opening procedure and when they think the children are going to arrive. And then they're going to be able to sort of see that at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning, so they can make that immediate change. Then the next metric is scoring, and this is really what is the standard we've completed that observation at, what is the standard we've completed that opening procedure at, and where's our risk? How do we know? So in this particular case, we've got 7 checklists with an average of 81%, and we're missing 2 questions. whereas 4, 50%, but we're missing 43 questions. So straight away you can understand it may be at 50%, but actually the issue that I need to rectify is that they're not answering all of their questions. So I know that their percentage is reduced due to that. These are all click through. I know if they've got any high priority issues that are pending in their particular rooms, and then I can click on that particular percentage to seek more information on room A over a period of time. So I'm looking at them individually. Over time, we've got room A starting at 86% and moving down through the particular dates. And this could really give us a view of how they've been going for the week. Is Wednesday a day where their score is reducing? And really have a robust discussion over a long period of time, what their consistent procedures are looking like as well. We're also able to look at particular groupings, like looking at just the classroom or just the bathroom over that period of time, and then have those discussions as well. We can then compare them to the lowest room that's using the standardized opening procedure to the best room and have those discussions, as well as look at their average in those particular groupings over that period of time and have a chat with that lead educator and say, hey, we're always scoring lower on the bathroom or on this particular observation. You know, this is something that I would like to put additional resource or training behind, or can you put an extra eye over that for a certain period and just see if we can raise that level as well. We then go one step further and we look at the group metrics reporting. And this is where you can compare your rooms or your centres or even regions against each other. So I can see room B's down at the bottom, room A's up at the top, across 6 checklists with 41 answered questions and a score of 63% as an average across the organisation or across the group or the centre, depending on what lens you're looking at. I can then see as a whole organisation for a year, 6 months, a week, that we're looking at a reduction in facilities, materials and equipment, whereas medication management, we're all kosher on, we're looking good there. So this just gives you the ability to look over different lenses of metrics and make some strategic decisions or resource or training decisions where you need them. It also means that you're mitigating your risk and you're managing by exception with the visibility and your best practice. So therefore, you know that you need to spend some time with room B, but room A is going great guns. So therefore, you're also managing your workload and your team's workload to make great decisions based on great data as well. Now, the last dashboard I wanted to show you is the reporting dashboard. So the other two I showed you are specific to a user profile. They're able to set their own filters and make the views based on what they would like to look at. This particular reporting dashboard is profile based. So we'll make a default and then we'll expose it to particular users within the centres or within the organisation. So in this particular case, it's group reporting. I'm able to see all of the tickets at my particular location or multiple locations, and I'm able to see the subject, the content, and whether it's closed or open. So I'm able to track my facilities maintenance, any tickets or requests that are happening within my centres. I'm then able side by side with that information to see my injuries. So I'm able to see that room A or centre 1 is having quite a number of injuries over the time period I'm looking at. Whereas, room C, they're looking at 4. So they're either not reporting or they've got a low number. But I'm also able to see the makeup of these particular injuries and just understand by adult or by child, what are the types of injuries or locations as well that they're happening in. I'm then able to see it by percentage. I'm able to understand that what we're logging is 84% of minor harm, ice packs, plasters, little bumps and bruises. You're looking at 11% being where they've needed to go to the doctor afterwards, and a small slither of 3.8% being they needed to go to hospital, it needed to go further than that, etc. as well. And you're able to see that again over whatever time period you'd like. as well as trend analysis. So in this particular one, I'm able to view particular injury types by month and see if they're increasing or reducing based on some of those parameters I'm putting in place or some of that additional training, etc. as well. Then I've got opening procedure, well, in this particular case, area manager report. So alongside my health and safety reporting, I'm also able to see completion reporting of some of my main procedures and comparisons by region or by centres to be able to understand whether someone's not doing well at compliance and they need some assistance or they need additional understanding. Plus, they're also getting a high level of injuries to children or staff as well. And what we would usually design as a standard is each centre would have their own dashboard. So Centre 1, Centre 2, Centre 3. Then there would be maybe an area manager dashboard where they see their allocation of centres, and further on from that, a group metrics dashboard that's shared with the management or leadership team on a monthly basis, etc. from there as well. So these are all customizable to the data that your organisation wants to see. And when we are designing the checklist, we're also thinking about the reporting that we need to enable within your organisation and the visibility that you would like to see as well. And that's all layered up with those different profiles at the same time. API. So there's also an extension of our reporting into analytics. So some of our childcare centres have financial reporting, and they'd like some of this compliance or best practice metrics to also go alongside those financial records. So we do have APIs and we do have the ability to push this data outside of our system through to, say, Power BI or SAP Analytics Cloud or whatever the analytics system that you have, and we can assist you with that as well and move those through. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you is how do I change my version control, as well as what is a survey and how could I use it within my centres. So we do have version control, and I won't pick that one. I'll just go back. I'll pick something like opening procedure. That's probably the easiest. I'll go to versions. I'll then copy the published version, and you can see that there's a lot of playing around here. So there's a lot of drafts, but once I've copied that, I can then edit that draft version and make all the changes that I need. Now I'm showing you this not because this is a typical thing that you would do. We would do this for you and we would build all of these. And as well, if you've got an administrator in-house or someone you want to manage the system on your end, then we would train them to do this. But this isn't something that you would do. All I'm really wanting to show here is the ability to quickly add any additional notations, add any additional questions, change the scoring, change the colors, and then, of course, save and publish. Once I save and publish, it then will be updated in real time on all of the centre and rooms devices, and then they will be able to move forward and go ahead with those new changes that you've made. Any of those factors that change, we know that we need to take quick action to them. So this is just a way that you could quickly change them, or we could quickly change them and have that data being gathered within the day, rather than having to go through and change a Word document and then, of course, send that email out. There's no lag with this particular system. It's quite quick and easy. Now, we do have a survey functionality, and this is quite new functionality, and we really like it. And there's the reason that I'm showing it to you is mainly because we've been using it for our COVID tracking and the ability for people to come into the centre. Now, you won't necessarily use it for that now in New Zealand, but there's a link and a QR code that's created. That means that people who aren't users, e.g. staff or parents, can open up their phone, click on that particular QR code. Feel free to do that now if you've got your phone with you. Open your camera, and then, of course, complete a checklist within your system. And it just means that you're able, like SurveyMonkey, to gather information, but within your 1Place system without having to seek for something external to use. Once I've clicked on that particular link, I could use it. I could use it in an email, I could send it by text, and then of course I've got the ability to go in and answer particular questions with any type of checklist you need to ask. One thing I did want to show you is conditional questions. So in this particular case, it's a health and wellness survey, but if you notice, if I select that I'm a parent or a staff member, the standardized template changes. So therefore, moving from having a checklist per room that's specific to them, we now work with you to standardize a template. And as they answer questions, it can seek more information with additional questions, or questions will only show for room A if it's assigned to room A, and only room B if it's assigned to room B. So an example of that would be room B has stairs. So therefore, room A won't have any stairs question within their standard opening procedure, but room B will have that. So we work to design all of that with you. Now back to the conditional questions. If I click one child, you'll notice that a particular grouping appears for one child, and that's really the power of those conditional questions. It really gives you that flexibility to change that template based on the answers to the question as well. We also have ability to have those colors coming up in numbers, et cetera, if those temperatures are high or those financial metrics are high or out of whack as well. Fantastic. Any questions so far on any of the reporting or on the web portal or general? I'll just give you about 30 seconds or so, and then I'll look to move on from there. And probably further to that question, not just on the system, but what the value it adds into your centre. Is there anyone that can see it being really useful in their centre, and adding that visibility that they would need? Is there anything that you've thought, oh, actually that would be really helpful? Okay, perfect. No worries. Now, Verity, is there anything you think I've missed?
Yeah, no, you've done a really good job with the live site. I think if anyone were to have any questions, it would be a great idea. I think the survey is a great new aspect. I actually submitted the health and wellness COVID survey whilst we were sitting here. It was really simple and easy to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There you are. Perfect. Love that.
Thank you very much.
No worries. And Louise, we don't currently have Nappy Charts sleep charts. We are really not focused around the child. We are more compliance metrics, health and safety metrics, and any of those procedural type things. That's what we do really well.
However, Louise, InfoCare does have Go Mobile, which does have those charts. If you wanted to find out more, please feel free to email the help desk and we can give you some more information on that.
Fantastic. Well, I would just like to say before we sign off, thank you so very much to Verity, and thank you all for coming on today. We do really, really appreciate it. And of course, more information will be coming through. Some case studies will be coming through Marketing Week as well. And don't hesitate to reach out. In terms of implementation procedure going forward, and just giving you a bit of a view on that, we are a software as a solution. So from a cost perspective, it's a monthly cost per center, and then there's a small implementation charge, which we design and we sort of discuss with you, and we decide what you would need in regards to the scope of the system. But it is really quick and easy to do, and we do do have standardized templates as well. So if it's too difficult to go, oh, I need to get all my checklists together, we start with a foundation system, and then we tweak and design and modify and customize to you as well. And then just, of course, with that app dashboard, we maybe start with one opening procedure, we get your staff used to it, and then we just keep adding additional cleaning templates, additional closing, midday checklists, so that therefore it just becomes second nature to them to come in and look at their checklists to do and then complete those. So the system does definitely grow with you, and we grow and assist you alongside with your system to make sure that just like paper, digital things go stale. So we're always sort of at your back alongside you and an extension of your business to ensure that it's all refreshed and you're getting what you need out of it from a reporting perspective as well, and from a staff use perspective. Fantastic. Well, thank you all again for coming along. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day and week. And don't hesitate to keep in touch if you'd like me to do a customized demonstration to you. And if you have any questions over and above.